I just found hours of footage of a giant 64 by 64 lot build that I did back in July and for some reason never posted on YouTube. So this is like the great lost speed build of a horse ranch that I made months ago. And like I said, this is a very large build, so I'm just gonna jump straight into it as I explain what we're doing here today. I think part of why this build took me so long to finish and why the footage is so many hours long is because this house has two of the most cursed things in the entire game. Number one, 64 by 64 lot, and number two, diagonal walls. I don't really know what I was thinking when I built this, but I really went all out with the misery here, and honestly, I think it was worth it because this is one of, I think, the best big builds that I've ever done. That's kind of why I'm confused about how I forgot to post it, but I do have an explanation for that, I think. So I built this back in July, right around the same time that Horse Ranch came out, but also right around when the Barbie movie came out. So at the time, I had been doing a lot of pink builds and a lot of horse builds. So I had kind of flooded my own feed with so much pink and horse stuff that when I built this, I was like, maybe I should hold off and post it later. And then somehow by accident later turned into November. And this is actually one of those rare times that I've been playing in a house that I've built. That sounds kind of weird when I say it like that, but I just build so often in this game that I can't keep up with it. Like I can't physically play in all of those houses. I'm usually playing in like 3 or 4 saves at a time, and I build like 3 or 4 houses a week. So I make a lot more houses than I actually need. And then when I do need a new house for my Sims, I usually just make another one. And this house is an example of a time that I just made another one. So to give you some context on who lives here, this is for the Not So Berry challenge that I've been playing on my Twitch channel. And in the Not So Berry challenge, each generation is a different color theme. And this one is for the pink generation. And in the Not So Berry challenge, I like to go all out with the color themes. You don't really have to, but I kind of think it's fun to do that. The Sim's got all pink traits, she's got all pink hair, she's got an all pink house, and so the interior of this house is a little bit excessive, okay? I'm warning you now, it is extremely pink in there. And because each generation is a different color theme, her kids have a different color theme and her parents have a different color theme. So the dad was a part of the orange generation, so his room is orange, and then the kids are a part of the peach generation and their room is peach. If you've never heard of the challenge, that might sound kind of confusing, but basically 10 generations, each one's a different color, and I like to embrace it. And also because I'm really playing with this household, we do have a real budget here today. Right now we have like 137,000 simoleons left at this point in the build, but I think in total I had like 160,000. I don't remember exactly. That's a lot of money though, so it wasn't too bad for me to try to furnish this whole thing. And as per usual with builds that I'm actually playing in, oftentimes these things kind of evolve with my Sims. So I build them one way in advance and then I intend to like change and update stuff as the game goes on. There's a barn in the way back of this lot that I added, and I intend to like add more stuff to the barn as I got more money. It's just a sort of different way of building than how I normally do my build videos, because for the most part when I'm building for a YouTube video, I'm kind of building a finished product that it just exists in one way and then it's done. But in this case, I'm building something that I intend to use and like mess with over a long period of time. And this is kind of embarrassing, it really dates this video, but I have actually built the next generation's house already. So the baby, who at this point when I built this was not even yet born, you'll see me at the end of the video decorate a nursery for a kid that I'm gonna have in the future. Well, that kid, that future kid is fully grown and has 2 kids of their own now at this point in my gameplay, because it's been so long since I built this. So I played in this house for months in real life, which is actually kind of fun. I don't usually get to make a video about a house that I'm this familiar with because I used it for so long. So I'm kind of working on the main layout of the exterior of the house and like the rest of the lot. Because the lot is so big, we have a lot of space to fill in. And one of the things that I'm adding in the back corner is like a little combination outdoor garden and greenhouse. One of the rules from the pink generation of this challenge is that you have to have a garden, so I wanted to add that in. And there's obviously no rules about horses in the Not So Berry challenge because horses did not exist when I wrote it. I wrote that challenge way back when I was still in high school in 2017. So horses were merely a figment of our imagination back then. But when the horse pack came out, I was like, oh my god, my Sim's a gardener, she's a writer, we could go live out in the middle of nowhere on a horse ranch. Like I figured it was kind of gonna make sense, so I wanted to add like a pretty pink horse barn, and I got a pretty pink unicorn and named it Strawberry. And that's who lives in the barn. I also put a whole bunch of like horse jumps and other important things like that out in front of the barn. What I will say after having played in this house for a long time is that I've realized that I do not want to have the horse anymore. It's not really the fault of the horse horse or the fault of the house. It's more just the fact that I've got like 7 or 8 Sims in my household right now, so having the horse is kind of too much for me. Like it's an addition that I'm not really cut out to handle. I like to play in slightly smaller households, and maybe that's not true because I do usually play in big households, but I get overwhelmed a lot when I have this many Sims, especially when they're pets, because you can't like have them take care of themselves, and the horses are kind of hard. Their needs get bad so often, so I've been struggling a lot with having the horse. In fact, if I'm being honest, I've been cheating its needs for like weeks in real life. Every day I'm like, oh, you're lonely? Okay, shift, click, make happy. I barely take care of it. It's really bad, but I just have too much going on. There's too much going on in the save. I can't deal with it. People keep telling me like, oh, just sell the horse. No, I'm committed to sort of taking care of this horse. And so far, cheating its needs have been working, so I'm gonna keep doing that. But yeah, I built this whole house with the desire of getting a unicorn, and then I realized quickly, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. So I've kind of been suffering through the consequences of my own actions recently. Also, I don't know how many of you either watch my Twitch streams or maybe have seen some past videos I've done when I've built houses for this save file. So I'm gonna make a reference that might seem really alarming to you. So this is the save where I have the big pile of graves in the front yard. This is the house that has the 271 graves in the front. And you see what I mean by it sounds alarming. Let me explain myself quickly. And don't worry, I did not include the graves in the gallery upload, so you will not see them on this build when I put it on the gallery, but I will show you them before I end the video. So in this save file, I've been playing for a very long time. I mentioned how I'm on the Peach generation of Not So Berry. That's the 8th generation of that challenge, and before I started it, I did a different legacy. So at this point in this save, I am 18 generations in. So I've been playing with this family for a very long time, like years in real life. And when you play in a sim save for that long, it's only natural that when I've had that many Sims, of course, I'm gonna have a lot of graves. I've got like the pets of 18 generations all have graves here. So there's like 25 or something pets that I've had over the years. I've got all of the Sims from those generations. So I've got like, you know, the parents and all of their kids and like kids' spouses and stuff like that here. And I also have sort of started to grow a collection of strangers' graves. Because you know, like when you go somewhere with your sim and then like some elder sim just dies, I started bringing the grave home with me when that would happen. So I got a handful that way. And then after I had played in the save for long enough, I realized that all of the Sims are obviously dead and their graves are still on their home lots. So I don't know if any of you have experienced this before, but like after say all of the Landgrab family dies off, if you go to their lot, you'll see like Nancy and Jeffrey's graves just there on the floor. I don't really know how it determines this, but the graves are always, every single time, either in like a corner of the lot on the very far outskirts, or they'll be right inside the front door. So what I started doing is going on these like grave hunts where I would just go around to all of the lots, all of the base game home lots and like all of the pack worlds and stuff, and I would just look for graves and then bring them home with me. And now I have them all in a giant pile in my Sims front yard. What my ultimate goal is to fill in everywhere with graves. What I would like to do is have like every inch of free space in the lot be a grave. I cannot say that's a good idea. I must say, from my experience now, that is a really bad idea. The game is actually really laggy and I have a lot of ghost problems, like a really unimaginably bad ghost problem. So I would not recommend that you do this, but I'm having a lot of fun with it. So if you came to my stream at any point in the past few months and I was playing with this save file, you might have seen that the entire front yard, and I am not exaggerating, the entire front yard was full of graves. So I kind of like followed around the path that you see there in the front and I just put graves everywhere. And you guys, this was so funny because I would just be playing like normal, you know, I'd be hanging out and then I would get raided or something. And on Twitch, when you get raided, that means like somebody else ended their stream and then they were like, oh, look, so-and-so's still live. We'll go over there. And then it's like a built-in Twitch feature where you can send your stream audience to the next stream. Kind of like a, oh, I'm leaving, but look, my friend's still live. Let's all watch them together sort of situation. Well, I would get raided and then be like, oh my gosh, welcome in everybody. Do you want to see my graves? And then I just slowly panned the camera over to this giant field of graves. Yeah, it was really special. It was a good time. It's kind of unmatched, actually. But anyway, we have moved on to the interior of the house now, so you get to watch me really struggle to figure out the floor plan for a little bit. Now, in this house, we have a need for a lot of stuff. We need a lot of space down here. Quite a few Sims live in this house. In fact, we ended up having 3 kids. I've obviously got my main Sim. Her dad lived here for a while before he died. I also wanted to have an office because my Sim is supposed to be a writer. That's like the rules of this generation of the challenge. So I wanted to have an office space for us to use. So in total, we needed like 4 or 5 bedrooms. Obviously, it's also nice to have a lot of extra bathrooms in a household this big. So I was trying to like figure out where to put all that stuff. I managed to fit 2 bedrooms upstairs and then most of the house is all downstairs. I put the living room in that weird diagonal spot, which if I could ever offer you a piece of advice for diagonal building in The Sims, you gotta put stuff there that is not gonna be weird and glitchy. What I mean by that is like, it's really good. Diagonals are very good for big open spaces. So like a big open living room with a big giant couch and rug, maybe as a bedroom. But if you ever wanna use countertops, try to avoid putting them on a diagonal at all costs, specifically because the countertops have a weird lighting bug on diagonals. So they get like a weird, very dark, almost like black shadow in the very back of the counter when it's on a diagonal wall. And obviously also diagonal walls are a little bit longer than a regular tile in The Sims. And so the counters are made for a regular tile and they don't fit on the diagonal walls that easily. So it's really annoying to put kitchens on a diagonal. I will do my very best to avoid that at like all costs if I can. And I managed to make it work here. We also had a lot of open space downstairs that I was kind of struggling to fill up. You can kind of see me going back and forth and changing my mind a lot right here. But what I ended up doing is putting a mud room downstairs. So when you come in through the back door, it enters you into a mud room. I have absolutely no need for this in The Sims. In real life, a mud room is kind of like, it'll be like a tiny hallway. Sometimes it's just like a little tiny bit of tile. It's not often its own complete room, but it's like a little bit of tile off of a door or like a side door, back door, some sort of entryway into your house. And it's there because you might come in with like muddy boots or a big wet coat and you can hang it up there and like take the boots off there in the part of tile in the mud room before you come into the rest of the house. Not everybody has these. I'm from Florida. I've never had a house that has a thing like that. I guess in the house that I live in right now, when you come in from the garage, it goes into like where the laundry is and that part is tiled. And I just call it the laundry room and not the mud room, but it kind of serves the same purpose. Well, I put a mud room here in this house because it's a horse ranch. So you're gonna have, you know, muddy boots probably. The thing is, I did not put laundry. I actually intentionally did not put laundry here in this house. And realistically, if it were a real life house or if I was building this for like you guys to play in, I probably would have put laundry in there. But the thing is, I'm playing in this house. This house was for me and I know myself and I do not use laundry in The Sims 4. I won't do it. I've got a legacy challenge series here on YouTube and I put laundry in their house. So for a few weeks now, I've been really trying to like keep up with the realism of having my Sims do laundry. I find it kind of annoying to have an additional chore. I don't really care to have my Sims have to worry about stuff like that. I have such conflicting opinions on this because I was so excited about laundry when it first came out and like I voted for it when we did that fan voted stuff pack. I really wanted laundry. Same thing with the vacuuming. I was like, wow, vacuuming, this is gonna be so cool. And now it's out and I don't do it. I won't do it. I never have my Sims do laundry. So yeah, I couldn't put it in here. If you were to play in this house, you could very easily swap that room out to have laundry in it. For me though, no. For me, I could not. I'm gonna start working on the landscaping now and like start putting in trees and stuff everywhere outside. And I did quite extensive landscaping out here, I would say. It's always hard for me to landscape in these like slightly more deserty areas because I am one to want to put plants everywhere, as we have learned. But obviously I was using a lot of horse ranch debug with this and just putting like debug plants all over the place. I start with like putting some low-lying bushes down and then I go back in and add flowers on top of those. That's sort of like my standard method for landscaping in The Sims 4. I like to do a lot of layering like that. And then obviously I used a lot of pink flowers here, which is not shocking given it is a pink horse ranch. Everything is pink everywhere. Everything is pink all over the place here. I really embraced it. And in this case, I think I've got a good excuse to do so. It's for the not so berry challenge. That's like literally the rules. It's gotta be all one color. You know, it's a good thing I realized that I hadn't posted this yet because imagine if I waited until after the pack came out. We've got another expansion pack coming out soon and I built this for the previous expansion pack. I made this when the old pack first came out, which at this point really isn't even that old of a pack, but this year we've had 3 expansion packs, so it feels like it's an old pack now. It would be very embarrassing if I didn't get the horse build uploaded before the landlord pack came out, because pretty soon I'm gonna have only apartments to build, and then I'm probably gonna find a whole bunch of lost apartments too in like 6 months. Actually, speaking of the For Rent pack, I have a couple little updates for you all. I've been getting a lot of comments and questions about early access stuff, so obviously I can't really talk about that yet. I'm not allowed to give you an embargo date or anything, but what I will say is that there's no early access being posted for a long time. Like next month, you know, like December, closer when the pack comes out, we're gonna start getting to post early access. So there's not gonna be any early access content of For Rent until then, like until way closer to the release date. It comes out on December 7th. So we'll start doing a lot of For Rent things then, but not yet. Does that make sense? And when I do get to post that early access content, I'm obviously gonna post a lot of it for you. Typically what I'll do, I'm not really sure exactly what I'll do yet because I don't have the access yet, but typically in the past, I'll start with like a comprehensive review video on day 1 of early access. And then I'll also do a lot of Twitch streams that week with all kinds of information. There's like 2 tiers of early access to the expansion pack specifically. The first one is called the CFE access, which sounds kind of strange, and it is kind of strange. It's kind of complicated. What they have to do for that early access, it's sort of limited in who gets it, and they give out access to like a separate version of The Sims 4. So in my library, I'll have like The Sims 4, and then I'll have a second version of The Sims 4 that's gonna have the newest update and also the expansion pack, and I'll have like a temporary early access to that. So I'll have it for like a week or 2 or something, and then they'll take it away, and then like a week or 2 later, the real pack is gonna be close to coming out, so I'll get another early access as soon as the patch comes out. And the reason they do that is because they can't give you access to the expansion pack until the game is fully up to date. And as we know, there's always a patch on the Tuesday before the pack comes out on Thursday. So they can't give me access to the pack in like the regular game until that patch is out on Tuesday, which is why they have this whole second version of the game CFE thing. So if you've seen any of my early access videos in the past, you might have seen like the weird watermark floating around the screen. That's that version of the game. The game has like no access to the gallery, and it's got a watermark built into the game. I don't add that on, it's just in the game. And those videos I'll get to post first. And when those videos are allowed to be posted, I'm also gonna do a live stream on Twitch where I'm just gonna show off all kinds of footage. Because by the time I can do that stream, I won't have access to the game anymore, so I can't like stream from the CFE game, but I can stream and show you footage that I had previously recorded. So what you'll wanna do is maybe follow me here, make sure you're subscribed on YouTube, and also follow me on Twitch, because that way you'll know when I'm gonna be going live and doing these things. If you are as excited as I am about For Rent, you're probably gonna wanna be ready. So just make sure you're like subscribed and following me there. I'll link my Twitch channel down below. I just know for the next like 2 months straight, I'm gonna be nonstop thinking about and building apartments. So I'm warning you now. But anyway, back to the present build for a second. I am currently finishing up some landscaping and then adding in some cute horse stuff. I just finished putting quite a few little flowers outside, a lot of debug flowers as well, so they were free. Because at this point, I was starting to get a little bit worried about the budget. And now we're working on the horse stuff. And I will say, I remember vividly myself struggling a lot with the layout of this horse stuff. I did not know where I wanted to put it. I didn't know how much of it I wanted to have. I mean, I was going back and forth so much on what it should look like. And what's funny is I didn't really even end up using it. Like I spent all this time trying to find a spot for it, and then I didn't want it. When I actually started playing the game, I was like, wow, I don't want this horse anymore. In a regular household that maybe has less going on, a horse would be fun. It was very hard for me to integrate a horse into my Not So Berry gameplay because I just, like I said earlier, I had too many Sims. Also, having this horse stuff was a very nice benefit to helping fill in the lot because we were playing on this giant 64 by 64 lot, and it's so hard to fill up these spaces. Like it's so huge. It's unimaginably big. I don't like to build these lots that are this big because I kind of find them hard to do. And so this having horse stuff was actually really nice because then it kind of gave me an easy way to fill in the lot with a lot of things, but like a lot of large scale things. So it's not too much or too busy. It's basically just a big brown bit of dirt with like 3 items in it, but it still looks like it's kind of finished, even though it's really a lot of empty space still. And I like that because it's hard to build houses that are big enough to fill in the whole space on these big lots. And even when you do, I don't really like playing in houses that are that big. Like this house is plenty big. This is a very large house, but even then, I don't really want it to be that much bigger because I kind of prefer for my Sims to have slightly smaller homes. I just find them a little bit more fun to play in and also easier to play in when they're smaller. I don't like when I have giant houses and my Sims are like all over the place in them and you're like constantly paging up and down and zooming around trying to find everybody and it takes them like an hour to get from one side of the house to the other. I just prefer smaller scale. I like building smaller scale. I like playing in smaller scale. So this is kind of like my max. This is the biggest I'll probably ever do for the most part. There's obviously, you know, there's exceptions to that rule. I've done quite a few big builds recently. I built a giant cruise ship like a month ago, which I can link down below for you in case you want to watch it. Oh, and you know what? Saying that, with the apartment pack coming out, I'm gonna make a whole bunch of massive apartment complexes. So never mind. I'm gonna do all kinds of big builds. It's more just when I have only one family living there, I prefer for it to be a bit smaller because it's like easier to play in when it's smaller. And then it's less laggy. And we have to be careful because, you know, I've got like 271 graves. So I can't, oh my God, I just watched the terrain paint delete itself. Okay. Well, so we'll get back to the grave thing. I forgot that happened to me here. So there is a really bizarre terrain paint bug that's been happening for a very long time in The Sims 4. And I don't know if you just watched what happened, but basically what it did was delete all the terrain paint except for one type. So I had like a couple different types of dirt there and all of the terrain paint deleted except for the darkest terrain paint, the darkest dirt terrain paint. When this happened to me when I was building, it made me want to cry. Like I was this close to tears because I had just finished all of the terrain paint and then all of a sudden, boom, it deletes. I think it is specifically the Horse Ranch terrain paints that are having so much trouble, but I don't even know if that's true because I can recall this glitch happening like a full year or two ago, even way before Horse Ranch. But it happened when I tried to put like a third terrain paint down and I touched it to the different terrain paint, then it just deleted all the rest of it. And the reason it's so weird is because it doesn't even delete all of it. It just deleted most of it. So I was extremely frustrated and very upset about this and I had to redo it. This happens to me all the time. And whenever it happens, my Twitch chat is like, well, that never happens to me. Okay, you know what? I'm happy for you. I'm really happy for you and I'm not at all jealous. It's totally fine. I'm not upset. It's fine. But I swear it's every time I do a big build and it's always right when I finally finish the terrain paint is when the glitch appears. So I've kind of learned my lesson at this point. This is like months ago, obviously, but now I prefer to just wait until the very last second to do terrain paint just in case. Because if I have to like spend all that time doing it, I don't want to have it delete and then like have to go back and do it again and again and again while I'm still working on the build. So I've started doing terrain paint almost last nowadays. Sorry, I'm never gonna stop complaining about this. When I watched that terrain paint delete, my heart stopped. I like felt bad for my past self for a second there. Anyway, what I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted by the game is that I have to be kind of careful about making giant builds when I want to have 271 graves in my yard because it's already laggy enough. But anyway, we're working on furnishing the kitchen now. So you can see we have a super cute little kitchen and then a small little breakfast nook. And that's one of the, I think, biggest problems about this house in particular is that it doesn't really have a big, proper, formal dining room. I kind of wish that I could have had another dining table, like a bigger one, just because the house is so big and the family's so big. It'd be nice to have some more seats, but for some reason I couldn't manage to fit it in here. I guess with how I did the floor plan, I had some unnecessary rooms, like I had the mudroom and stuff, but I have a small dining table, we've got some bar stools, there's kind of like a nice big entryway in the front, and then obviously the diagonal room is the living room. Kind of back behind the kitchen right now, what you're looking at is gonna be the office, and then down the hallway, we have Grandpa's bedroom, the primary bedroom, and a couple of bathrooms, and then upstairs we'll have just like 2 more kids' rooms. So in total, it's a 4-bedroom house plus an office, so it could be 5 depending on how you look at it. But also, way back in the corner of the lot, there is that barn. So if you were playing in this house and you wanted to, you could probably convert that barn into a house for Grandpa, and then you could use the rest of the interior spaces all as bedrooms for your kids. Thankfully, Grandpa was dead before my 3rd kid was born. That sounds so bad. Oh my God. Well, not thankfully, but my Sims dad had died before the 3rd kid was born, so I didn't need to have any kids share rooms or anything because I had the extra bedroom from Grandpa. Oh my God, saying thankfully Grandpa died is a terrible thing to say. I did love that Sim. I loved him. I killed his wife in my shark pond, but I liked him and he lived until old age. Listen, when I just told you about my graves. You guys know, not all of the graves were my fault. Some of them weren't my fault, okay? A solid few of them died of old age. Oh, I'm making myself look really weird and scary. Okay, anyway, down here, we are now doing the primary bedroom. And this is also gonna date this video a little bit, but I actually put in this bedroom the frame TV. When I made this, that Modern Luxe kit was kind of new, so I was very excited about the frame TV. I put it here in this bedroom. Unless, if I remember correctly, did I build this before the Modern Luxe kit came out? Oh, no, okay. So I built this without a frame TV, but then a couple months later, I renovated it to have the frame TV when the Modern Luxe kit released in September, which again, I built this in July. So, oh my God. September would make the build old, but no, it's even older than that. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Okay, never mind. There's no frame TV in here. Well, now I've confused myself. I remember what I've done to the build since then, but I don't remember how it was when I first built it. Well, in this bedroom, we've got a tiny ensuite bathroom, and we also have a really cute like fireplace with a picture above it. There's kind of a cute little floral bed. Down by the entryway, I put some things like a phone and stuff like that by like an entryway table. We've got a dog bed, we've got a piano. I actually added in a basement because I was kind of trying to figure out how to take up extra space. So I was like, oh, add an extra staircase. But what I will tell you right now is by the time I got to furnishing the basement in this build, I had no money left. And so I never furnished it, and I never ever did. Even after I played in it for months, I never added anything to that basement. I think towards the very end of my Sims living here, I might have put a couple of things because way long ago, like 8 generations ago, I had a Sim in the Scientist career. So I have like a cloning machine and stuff like that. So I think I might have put that in the basement for a little bit, but I never used it. The basement's kind of just there. It never served any functional purpose. It just existed. The purpose was just to have the staircase take up more space. That was it. I had a hard time figuring out the floor plan of the living room, so I was like, quick, add something else, and yeah, useless basement. You also might have seen a couple minutes ago, I put like some literal mud on the floor of the mudroom. That was a very controversial choice in my Twitch stream. People either loved it or thought it was disgusting and hated it. I personally kind of liked it. I thought it was cute, and then I mean, it was kind of fun for me to have like little muddy paw prints. So I had all these animals living in the house, but people were kind of grossed out by it. And one of the things that I loved the most about this living room is I kind of built like this cute built-in TV cabinet, and I surrounded it with those horse ranch cabinets, and I thought it looked really nice to have the cute surround over there. And one of the things that I did after I stopped recording is I actually moved my Sims in here, and I went back and like added all of my stuff, because over the years, you know, with 18 generations, I've got a lot of like little collectibles and things like that. So what I did was go in and put like all of my Sims frogs, and I've got like snow globes and those Simmy capsule things, and I put some of those cute things on these shelves, and it looked pretty good. It also looked pretty chaotic. I wouldn't like upload it to the gallery that way because it didn't look good necessarily, but it made me happy because it had like all of my Sims things. Same thing, I also went back and added some family photos into this build, but I'm never gonna like upload my Sims family photos for you to the gallery because you're not gonna want to look at that. Like, you're not gonna want to download a house that has pictures of my Sims in it. I've got some photos of my Sims literally dying. Like when one of my Sims, like, you know, previous legacy heirs died, I took pictures of the Grim Reaper reaping them. Like, I had my Sim grab their camera and snap some selfies. You can't put that in an average build. Some like poor random person is gonna download it off the gallery and be like looking around and then see a photo of my Sim dying. That's ridiculous. Well, moving upstairs, we are working on the 2 bedrooms up here now. There's actually 2 bathrooms upstairs too, and there's a little bit of empty space in the weird dormer area over the diagonal room. I didn't know what to put there or like how to make the hallway get to it because it's kind of a weird shape, so I just didn't use it. I put like a decoration box in there and called it storage and then left it alone. But up here in both of these rooms, I decorated them as like peachy nurseries because my Sim was eventually going to have a couple kids that would be a part of the peach generation. And I don't even really want to get into this, but I know. What is peach? It's a pinky orange color. Peach is sort of open to interpretation, okay? This is one of those things. This is probably one of my greatest regrets about the Not So Berry challenge because when I wrote it, I didn't really think that anyone was going to do it. I only thought I was gonna do it. And then I published it before I ever played it. And now, having played it, I realized that peach, that color in like the order of the legacy stuff, it goes orange, pink, and then peach. And peach is basically orange and pink. So it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of like no fun. It's not as like drastically different. For context, like the next ones are green and blue, and before this it was purple. So you kind of have some funky, fun colors happening, and then 3 very similar colors in a row. But yeah, like I mentioned earlier, currently, present day, I am playing with a baby who is not yet born when I built this. When I built this, neither of these 2 kids were born. I made a nursery for Sims that didn't even exist. And in fact, the person I picked as the heir was actually the one that is living in dead grandpa's room. So that the kid that is the heir was merely a figment of all of our imaginations when I first built this house. And I think that's kind of fun. It's fun for me to like take this little walk down memory lane and go back and watch this footage again after I built it so long ago, especially because I played in the house for so long. I've got some love in my heart for this Sims house because I used it so much. So hopefully you enjoyed watching it too. And now that the build is done, I kind of want to pop back into the game and give you a proper tour of the finished product. So I built it here on this 64 by 64 lot in Chestnut Ridge. This is the world that comes with Horse Ranch. And if you're looking for it on the gallery, unfortunately, you're gonna have to scroll back quite a bit. Like quite a bit. And it's called the Barbie, no it's not. Oh, different build. Pink Horse Ranch. Pink Horse Ranch. It's called the Pink Horse Ranch from July 26th. See, that's why I didn't post this on YouTube back then, because I made a smaller one already, so I wasn't gonna do it again. And this is what the finished product looks like. So when you first walk up to the house, we've got kind of a cute little entryway underneath this sign, and I've made a really cute windy path going around the whole lot. So I'll start with the exterior. If you come to the right of the house, down here we've got a really cute little swing set, and then you also have access to all the horse areas. I did put a couple stables outside just to take up space, and we've got like the horse ball, there's like food and things like that for the horse, and in here there's a little barn. Not a lot going on, purely like storage out here. This is because I ran out of money. I didn't have too much else to furnish this with, and I also only had 1 horse, so I didn't really need as much space. But we've got 2 little stalls in here for the horse. Over to the left, we've got a really nice outdoor like living space back here. We've basically got some lounge chairs, there's a pool, I put a yoga mat, we've got a fire pit. On this deck, I've got a grill and a table, we've got some rocking chairs down here. And then way out in the way back, we've got over on this side, my farm area and the greenhouse, because my sim has kind of quite the garden going. She has like a bunch of death flowers and stuff growing in here. And then over on this side, I also have my shark pond. This is how a lot of my sims have stopped being with us. I usually keep it stocked with sharks. And I put a tree house here when I was playing here for a while, because we had a bunch of big open space. But that was sort of a later addition, because at this point, I didn't even have any babies, so I didn't really need it yet. And then when you actually enter the house, so over here, we walk up this little pathway up to the front door. There's like some rocking chairs by it. And then you come into this little entryway. I've got like a table, there's some mail, the dog bed. Straight ahead from here, we have the kitchen. It is shockingly all very pink. I really liked this thing that I put around the kitchen island. I put like a spandrel and some columns and then hung some lights in it. And then down to the left, we've got like a little breakfast nook dining area. The dogs can eat here. And then this is my Sims office. I eventually went back in and filled these shelves with my own Sims clutter because we have like all those collectibles. And these are all little bird collectibles. This is actually the feathers. In your inventory, it's just gonna look like a feather. You see this down here, this puffin feather? Your Sims pets find these sometimes, but when you hang them on the wall, it turns into a cute little display. So nice to know if you have cats and dogs, you can use those. We've got like a chess table, our desk and everything. And then down to the left, this is the living room. So we have this cute setup in front of the TV. I've got a fireplace. I do have a small bathroom down here and a couple instruments for my Sims. Downstairs in the basement, I think on the gallery, I uploaded it with this stuff, but in reality, I had to delete it before I started using it because I couldn't afford it. So when I had my Sims move in, I had to delete all of this stuff before I moved in, and then I never finished it. I kept it deleted forever. Down here on this side, this is the mudroom I was talking about. So this is where I would have put laundry if I was brave. Instead, it's more just like storage and the cat's litter box, and then also some muddy paw prints. This is like the big hall bathroom that we have right here. And over on this side, this is the primary bedroom. They've got an ensuite bathroom too. And then this is Grandpa's room. It's orange and quite chaotic because he was a part of the orange generation. And I used this cute ghost wallpaper in his closet. When you come upstairs, there's a tiny hallway. And then we have the 2 peachy kids rooms. There's one for a toddler and one for an infant. This one's got its own bathroom, and there's a bathroom upstairs down here. So in total, it's a 5 bathroom. Oh, it's a 4-bedroom, 5-bathroom house with quite a few amenities. And that, my friends, is the fully finished product. Whoa, okay, this was a very long video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I love the exterior of this house. I think that like the shape of the building looks really cool, so I'm quite proud of this one. If you liked this, I post a ton of Sims builds here on YouTube, but I also stream a ton of Sims builds over on my Twitch channel, so I'll link my Twitch down below. And obviously make sure you're subscribed here on YouTube so you don't miss the next one. And on that note, I'm gonna go and I will catch you all tomorrow. Okay, bye everybody. When was the last time you built on a 64 by 64 lot? You'll have to let me know because, to be honest, I really avoid lots this big. I really don't like them.